Spent 2 years attending to Baba along with other students?
Yes.
In his room?
Yes. And my heart goes out to just tell people, hey, listen, if you want to really know about Sai Baba, then come to us. You know, come to me, ask me. I watched him 24/7, 365 days a year. I was a teenager. I was struggling to find faith, and I found faith by watching him, not by reading a book, not because Vibhuti materialized in some photograph. That would have scared the heck out of me, probably. But this was, I noticed, I saw what Baba was.
For me, it was different because I think from the time I was born, thanks to my grandma, our family was already into Swami. And she was the Vrindavan singer, so she got my mom into Swami, and that's how, you know, as kids, we always knew Swami.
His entire life, the way I saw it, was a saga of sacrifice. You know, he was doing it, it's all for his devotees' sake. He had a huge veranda where you could go out for a walk and get some fresh air. He wouldn't do that because devotees would come and watch him. So in his own room, in his own house, he lived like a prisoner. And yet, there was a sense of incredible freedom, peace in his face, in his presence. And to me, that, I was saying, where is that secret? What is that secret that he's not bound by these four walls? I could go crazy. You could give me $10 million and tell me to do this. I couldn't do it. I would go mad.
And August 18th, he gave my parents and Sunder'S mom an interview and finalized the wedding. And then he sat with a calendar and said, oh, let's look at the date. And he said, first he said September 3rd, and then he said, no, it's a Thursday, it's a working day, you know, it won't work out. And then he said September 6th is a Sunday, so let's do it on September 6th.
And that's married the two of you.
He married the two of us in the interview room.
But he would get up at 4 in the morning. He would not put on his own bedroom light. He would use a flashlight. Why? Because you'd say, if I put on the light, the devotees across in the West Prashanti, they're all waiting for Baba's room light. And they're crazy people. They won't sleep. Then they will all be up at 3 o'clock and they'll be waiting to get a glimpse of my hair, my face. Why should I trouble them? వాళ్ళకి ఎందుకు ఇదంతా నేనేమో నాకు లైట్ ఉంటే చాలు ఈ చిన్న లైట్ ఉంటే చాలు నా పని నేను చూసుకుంటాను. He would say, I can take care of my job with my flashlight. Why do I need a big light? So in his own room, in his own house, he would use a flashlight to go to the restroom in the morning, have his shower, come out.
We were sitting in darshan. We had gone from the hospital staff. We were sitting, and suddenly Swami came out, and there was this girl. It was her birthday, one of the girls, and so she stood up with her tray of candy, and Swami looked at her and he says, "Are you Maya?" And she looked and she says, "No, Swami, and she told her name, and then he looked around. Of course, he blessed her and took her candy, and then he looks and he says, "Where's Maya?" And I was scared. I said, "What did I do? Why is he asking for me?" Because he's never done that before, right? So,
all day long, what does he do? I mean, I used to often wonder, what does he do sitting there, reading the devotees' mail?
He does that.
You know? Oh, that's all he did. That was his pastime, opening, reading.
So I stood up. I was like in the 3rd or 4th row, and I stood up and I said, "Swami, I'm Maya." And then he looks at me and he says, "Oh, marriage mangta hai," which means you want to get married.
Here's the first lesson I learned. Never open your mouth and speak to Swami unless you're spoken to. So even though we say we were in his room and we were 2 years, none of us and no one I knew could ever say, "Oh yeah, I can put in a word for Baba for you." Nobody.
So we went there to see Swami, and he called my parents and my grandparents in for an interview. And my parents were not sure if children are allowed, so we were left outside, with one of the ladies there. So as he was talking to my parents, he looked and he said, "Where are the children?" And then my mother said, "They're sitting out." So he said, "No, bring them." So my sister and I were brought in, and he looked at my sister and then he said, "Oh, what's your name?" So she said, "Shalini." And he said, "Oh, good girl," and patted her cheek and, hugged her. And then he looked at me and said, "What's your name?" And I looked at him and said, "As if you don't know." Because all my life I'd been hearing that he knows everything. Right?
So you were being smart with Baba?
I was being smart with him.
I haven't been to Puttaparthi for 15 years, not as Maya. the desire has not come for two reasons. One, and both are very personal. One being that I've not felt the need, because why do I need to go when you experience His divinity in everything that we do, the birds chirping, the plants, the trees, the good and the bad. It's amazing how when you open yourself and allow divinity to express itself from within, the proximity is so mind-blowing that you feel going there is just something you don't want to. The other reason why I really don't want to go is I can't see Swami in a wheelchair. I've not seen it that way.
Maya and Sundar Iyer, both Sai Baba University students. Sundar, a personal attendant inside Baba's home for 2 years. Maya, a student and a nurse at Baba's hospital. Two students brought together for life by Sai Baba. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in Elyria, Ohio in August 2010.
Thank you for giving us an honor to share our inspiration and faith. I can probably begin by saying how I came to Swami very briefly. And I guess it was Baba who brought Maya later into my life too, and brought me into her life, so brought us together. I was not born into a Sai family, or my parents were not Sai Baba devotees. They were Orthodox Hindu couple, extremely Orthodox with all the pujas and all the idols. We had all the gods possible in our puja room, and my dad would get up at 3 in the morning and do his regular pujas. In such a situation, Baba was considered as a miracle man, and my parents were not very fond of Baba. And so they were it was a closed door issue. And I remember at the age of 8 or 10, somebody came to our home from South Africa, and she said, "Hey, this young boy is he's got so many questions about God and spirituality. Can I take him to see Sai Baba?" And they said, "Oh, no, you're not going to take him to see Sai Baba. He'll learn all he wants here." Unfortunately, by the time I was 16, none of my questions were answered. And my questions were very simple. I mean, if God is out there, why are there poor people, or why are there volcanoes, and why is there poverty and death, and why can't all our wishes be fulfilled? As simple as that. Why can't I just get an A grade without studying? Just by praying, can I do that? Well, I had plenty of questions, but unfortunately there was nobody to answer them. I found families were buried in rituals and ceremonies, and nobody explained their significance to me. My thread ceremony was a disaster as far as I was concerned, because the pujari was out to collect money. So by the time I was 16 or 17, I was so against.
You were pretty cynical.
I was very cynical. I was against God, religion. I said, you know what? I've had enough of this.
I'm surprised you were able to turn yourself around with such a profound negative attitude.
Exactly. I was very surprised the way Swami came into my life and how things turned around. But when he did, what I found with Baba was the simplicity of his teachings. I was going to a photographer called Sai Datta in Bombay, and he used to, and I would learn coloring black and white pictures as color, because because those days color photographs were like,
So you would add the
it was
tones
so rare, only the rich people could afford it. So quite a few people would take black and white pictures, and then there was a special color that you could actually paint them with the natural colors and try to bring it to some kind of color. And so we had heard about Sai Datta, and then I walk into a studio and say, "Hey, I want to learn this painting, can you teach me?" He said, "Sure." And guess what pictures he hands to me? It's all Sai Baba's pictures. At first, honestly, I had not seen much. I had not seen pictures of Sai Baba, so I just thought this was some rock star of some kind. The idea of him being a saint didn't occur to me at all, because in India, the concept of saint and sages that we were brought up with was the torn and tattered ones. The more tattered a saint is, the more holier he is. The more famished he looks, the more powerful spiritual he is.
And he looked like a movie star to you.
Right. He was some kind of somebody. I thought, okay, some big shot. I didn't I saw the saffron robe, but I just couldn't put two and two together. There's no way a saint can, get along in India sitting on a throne and driving in a car, right? Because he'll be immediately branded as, oh, this is no saint at all. But when I kept getting pictures after pictures and coloring just orange and black and skin color all the time, I said, do you have any other pictures at all? So who is this guy? And that's when Sai Datta opened up. He was very quiet, he was very patient, he never forced Sai Baba on me. But he said, this is a holy man. I said, really? He seems to be a really rich man, rich holy man. He's got silk robes, there's not a hole in his robe, and he is surrounded by all these people. So that's how the first experience of Sai Baba, the first time I actually heard about him, I was not interested at all. I said, oh, okay, if he's a holy man, forget it. Don't even bother explaining to me. He said, no, this is your kind of holy man. I said, what do you mean? Because by then he knew what I was, I used to use him as my mentor and tell him all my woes and all my how people don't explain concepts of God or religion and things like that. And he gave me the summer showers in Vrindavan.
This guy was an established Baba devotee.
Oh yes, he was a photographer, Sai Baba's photographer.
Oh, he was Baba's photographer.
Yeah, he was Baba's photographer.
He wasn't just a commercial photographer.
Oh no. His family, his father was with Shirdi Baba.
I didn't hear
His
that
father
part of
and
the
his
story.
grandfather were with Shirdi Sai Baba.
So he was just waiting for you for the nut to crack so he could
Yes.
give you his
Yes.
wisdom and insights.
Yes, especially because my father got transferred at that time to a distant remote village from Bombay. He got transferred to Haryana, which is a very distant place off Delhi, to a village. There were no colleges there, and I was going to finish my 12th grade and enter into college.
So he begin then to spoon feed you information at a level that you found acceptable about this man whose picture you were coloring in?
Well, he didn't speak anything about him. He just said, hey, so my father's getting transferred. I need to look for a college somewhere else in India because I can't continue to live in Bombay. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling him all this. He said, you know what? There is a college. This guy's college is just going to open in Puttaparthi. So if you want, you can go. I said, no holy man, no holy colleges. So that's when he gave me this book. He said, listen, just read this book. And then you make up your mind.
And they were all Baba's sayings and the discourses.
And the summer course in Vrindavan was a great discourse of Baba. And I was expecting him to talk about the usual things, the God with 4 hands and spears. And I was always turned off by all our gods had weapons in their hands, and I could never understand why. Anyway, summer showers in Vrindavan was simple. I opened this book and he's saying God is love. That's it. That's what I always believed. Serve the people. That's it. That's what I want to hear. And so that's how it started. I was like, oh, this guy speaks sense. And so the little miracles that the Sai Datta was trying to tell me, I thought he's going to talk about how he's performing miracles or how he's able to do none of what he was doing. It was all about you are God too. Everybody is God. Everybody is divine. Love is God. God is love. Things which made so much sense. And I said, how come I never came across this before? So that was suddenly, it was like a door opening, like a floodgates opening. I often think about that moment in my life as to how I was so cynical about it and what changed me. I can never understand what changed me.
And Baba might say that you, Sundar Iyer, waited lifetimes for that particular moment.
And now I believe that.
Yeah. And how long was it after that moment dawned on you that you decided to commit yourself to make an application to attend Baba's university?
Well, and then I started reading Baba's books. I attended his summer course in Vrindavan. And because my father said, go there, try it for a month and see if you like it.
Even though your father was opposed to this from the outset.
Well, he was, but at that point he was in Haryana. He needed a college for me. So this turned out to be a place where nobody smokes and drinks and no parties. So he said, okay, at least this guy will be sane. If anything, he can at least focus on his studies. So he was more interested in the fact that it was a protected environment. So he said, go check out the summer course and see if you like the place, and then let me know, and if your marks are good, you can get it. So I did go, attended the summer course, and every moment I saw Baba, I was getting more and more interested in him. I saw people falling at his feet. I saw people, once you're in Vrindavan and you hear so many stories, none of them was seriously, it didn't move me. I was more curious at that point, more willing to learn before I finally said, Baba, I'm surrendering to you, or you're my guru. It took a long time for me to say that.
Did he give you any personal attention during those early